The unknowns in this problem are the price of a hot dog and the price of a hamburger. So I'm going to let x equal the price of a hot dog and y equal the price of a hamburger. Now I have to set up a system of equations and solve it to determine x and y. For Friday night, the amount of money collected for selling 40 hot dogs can be represented as 40x, or 40 times x. The amount of money collected for selling 28 hamburgers can be represented as 28y, or 28 times y. Since the sales total that night was $273, the first equation is 40x plus 28y equals 273. In other words, the total sales of hot dogs plus the total sales of hamburgers on Friday night was $273. For Saturday night, the amount of money collected for selling 30 hot dogs can be represented as 30x, or 30 times x. The amount of money collected for selling 16 hamburgers can be represented as 16y, or 16 times y. Since the sales total that night was $181, the second equation is 30x plus 16y equals 181. In other words, the total sales of hot dogs plus the total sales of hamburgers on Saturday night was $181. So I've got a system of two equations in two variables. 40x plus 28y equals 273. I'll call that equation 1. 30x plus 16y equals 181. I'll call that equation 2. I'm going to solve this particular system using the elimination method. I'm going to multiply equation 1 by 30 and equation 2 by negative 40. In this way, the x terms will have opposite coefficients, 1200 and negative 1200, and will thus add to give 0. The 30 here is multiplied by all three terms, so I'll get 1200x plus 840y equals 8,190. The negative 40 here is multiplied by all three terms, so I'll get negative 1200x minus 640y equals negative 7,240. Now I'm going to add these two equations. 1200x plus negative 1200x will be 0. 840y plus negative 640y will be 200y. 8,190 plus negative 7,240 will be 950. So I have 0 plus 200y equals 950. 0 plus 200y is just 200y. So I have 200y equals 950. 200y means 200 times y. So to get the y by itself on the left-hand side, I must divide left-hand side by 200. But if I divide the left-hand side by 200, I must also divide the right-hand side by 200. 200 divided by 200 is 1, and 1 times y will leave me with just y on the left-hand side. 950 divided by 200 is 4.75. So I have y equals 4.75. Now I can substitute y equals 4.75 into either equation and solve for x. I'm going to substitute y equals 4.75 into equation number 2. 30x plus 16y equals 181. So where I see y, I replace it by 4.75. So I get 30x plus 76 equals 181. The 16 times the 4.75 obviously is the 76. Now I want to get x by itself on the left-hand side. To do that, I'm going to subtract 76 from the left-hand side. But if I subtract 76 from the left-hand side, I must also subtract 76 from the right-hand side. 76 minus 76 is 0. So on the left-hand side, I'll have 30x. On the right-hand side, 181 subtract 76 is 105. So I've got 30x equals 105. 30x means 30 times x. So to get the x by itself on the left-hand side, I must divide the left-hand side by 30. But if I divide the left-hand side by 30, then I must also divide the right-hand side by 30. 30 divided by 30 is 1. So I'll have 1 times x, which is just x on the left-hand side. And 105 divided by 30 is 3.5. So I get x equals 3.5. So I have x equals 3.5. And y equals 4.75. Therefore, the cost of a hot dog is $3.50, and the cost of a hamburger is $4.75.